Hey, this is Tom Snowasol, and I work at Orbit Above Games, and I do actual plays, child play, actual play, and just overall online gaming. And today I have Patrick with me from Australia, and we're going to be playing World of Dungeons.
Right down under.
Describe your character quickly, just so it refreshes in my head as well as for people who are listening.
Definitely sure. My character's name is Chime. He's adopted a surname called Whispertune. Chime is what you would typically call a bard, a kind of inspiring figurehead people can look towards. He kind of gives out buffs. He's a really charismatic kind of bloke. He's quite dexterous. He's rather intelligent, but he's quite feeble physically. He arms himself with a light weapon, a dagger, and a short bow. He likes the fancy way of life. He likes to wear fancy clothes with a spyglass and walk around all high and mighty. But he is quite a reasonable person once you get to know him. But he does regard himself as a charismatic person. He regards himself as being the person to take charge in the group.
All right. I'm going to do kind of an introduction quickly to the game world and what the adventure is,
Yep.
because seeing as this is Dungeon World's light version of the game, classically we're going to be running through a dungeon, so I'm just going to do kind of like a flashback sequence.
Yep.
You find yourself in a tavern, like just this small little tavern on the edge of the coast. Um,
Yep.
the the shredded spear coast, in fact.
Shredded spear, was it?
Yeah, shredded spear, as in
Oh, sounds scary. Okay.
it's named that because it resembles like literally shredded teeth.
Mhm.
Like if meat was to be shredded by teeth, the coastline resembles the jaggedness of it. So there's a
Okay.
lot of little inlands and coves, and
Okay.
but very little islands, just shredded.
Do I know what the predominant race of the sort of shredded spear is?
Um, Actually,
Humans or
in this game, there is a singular race besides like monsters and creatures. Everything is on par with the human intelligence, so it is a
Yep.
dominantly human world.
Okay. Okay. Yep. That works for me.
All right. You can imagine it's kind of like. Have you ever read Ursula K. Le Guin's Earthsea?
I have, yes.
Oh, it's very good.
It is. A lot.
But it's similar into that in that it's fantasy, but there isn't very many different races. Like, and what
Okay.
races there are were created by man. So,
Yep. Too easy. Works for me.
all right. But you find yourself in a tavern. What would you like to say you were doing in this tavern before
Uh,
someone
I'm
got
gonna
your
say
attention?
I'm gonna say I was probably going to busk. I picture my character, sort of traverse to new lands. Take out my prized loot, which is my most prized possession, and I'm gonna start playing it away at the corner. I imagine I would have talked to the tavern owner beforehand, trying to arrange some kind of deal, maybe hot food and a place to crash if I offer some entertainment for the night. And my character is the kind of person that would like to play music and afterwards kind of ask around. He's quite curious. He always wants to learn new things. So I picture kind of just finished playing a song or a tune, kind of just like walking around between the tavern, nosing around people's tables, asking what's the word, what's the gossip,
All
what's
right.
happening.
While you were doing so, you were playing your favorite tune or what was popular for your childhood, and you find
Yep.
that you've come across this one table where there's this very dark, grizzled man, and he's slightly older. He's probably in his 40s, which is old for the time because this is
Yeah. Hmm.
it's kind of like medieval fantasy, so people didn't live this long. Um, but he's sitting there skulking and looking at his drink, and he's just all around grumpy looking.
I'm sure he has a couple of stories up his sleeve, so I'm very curious as to what he has to share.
Okay, I'm very out of character. I'm a very big role playing person, so we can
Yep.
just
So
jump straight
okay.
into it. So,
Yep. Okay, so I'll start us off then. So Chime kind of like just sort of plays a final sort of like final note on his song and kind of like gives a deep bounce to sort of like the clapping that some people give, hopefully. And I'm going to kind of like start to kind of like take a little break from playing, as I usually do between songs. I'm going to kind of like walk around between the tables, clapping people on the back, just, getting people in the good mood. And I kind of noticed a sort of darker, older-looking figure towards kind of like the back corner of the tavern, which instantly sort of piques my interest because, someone of his age and experience must have a wealth of knowledge and lived opportunities. So I'm going to kind of make my way over towards him and kind of rest my fingers on the table and say, "How are you doing on this fair night, good sir?"
Uh, there's nothing fair about this evening air.
It says, "What's not fair? I'm playing great music, the food's good, the alcohol's good."
That is true. The mead. But sadly, it makes the sad hours full of sorrow for me.
Sad hours, sad hours, huh? I'm gonna kind of like pull back a chair a little bit and kind of perk myself into it and kind of straighten my posture. And I'm gonna like look towards him and said, "You are not what I expect to find in a tavern. Someone of your experience. Surely you have some tales you might be willing to share with a curious bard."
Uh,
And as I say that, I'm going to kind of like take out like a parchment and some like ink, which I always keep in my top pocket. I'm going to like almost like as if I'm prepared to write stuff down.
okay, I'm going to roll a die of fate to see how he reacts.
Yep.
And we'll see from there. All right. He reacts pretty well to this. He seems kind of inspired by you that someone would be so interested in the older generation, those who have seen action and have shared and aren't necessarily willing to share their life, but only to those that are interested, like truly interested, not just seeking a benefit or a gain from it.
Okay. Yep.
He looks towards you and he rests his hand as you dab your quill or your pen into the ink to get ready to start writing some notes and maybe write a tune for this. He puts his hand on yours and rests it on it, and he says, "Son, there's no need to write my tale. My tale is one which can only be experienced for yourself."
At this, my eyes kind of widen a little bit, and this definitely piques my interest because Chime, this particular bard, it's kind of like his life goal is not only to share the tales of other people, but to write and forge his own for other bards to do the same. And so this kind of piques his interest a little bit. I'm going to kind of lower my quill, and I'm going to say, "What do you mean?"
Oh, it's hard. It's difficult to say, but if I know this may seem sudden, but I think the best way would be to show you for yourself firsthand what I've experienced. There is, but that's only if you're interested in.
Chime's going to kind of like nod his head and kind of bring his fingers up to his chin, kind of stroking it thoughtfully. Am I able to make some kind of perception to see if he has any kind of like gang tattoos or any kind of shady marks on his body, like an insignia or a scripture on his clothes, or like a tattoo of a gang? I'm trying to kind of gauge if he looks like a trustworthy kind of person.
I'd say that's intelligence, so +2 to
Yep.
your 2 dice roll.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna roll my 2d6. I got a 5 plus 2 is 7.
All right, that's a partial success. You notice that he has clean skin. However, like there's no tattoos, there's no markings. However, upon looking at his clothes, he seems battle worn. He's not necessarily dressed for combat, but he's wearing damaged clothing as if he was fresh out of a fight.
Okay, I'm going to raise this point up with him. I said, "I am very interested, but first I need to know, where were you an hour ago?"
He is going to actually look shocked that someone would be so notice aware of their surroundings to notice, because obviously everyone in the tavern is drunk and on their back.
Yep.
So he's very, you've piqued, you've made him interested in you now, and
Great.
he'll look at you and say, "Well, that's that is a tale that I would be worth that's worth telling. Um, many are, but I must go back first. A few days ago, I came across my uncle. He sadly passed away, and he left for me a map. And in the map,
Just to interject, as he's saying this, I'm gonna pick up his pen and just start making small notes, like uncle, deceased, will, map, and just like just small notes. Yep.
yep, he's going to allow that, and he actually encourages it. Um, and I'll actually have you roll charisma quick.
Yep. I got 2d6 plus 3. I got 9 plus 3, 12.
All right, and that is a full success. Actually, it's a critical success. You notice that this guy is very. He seems very glad that someone would be so interested as to take notes, to actually have a genuine interest in his life, his adventures, his past. And it actually gives him a spark. You can tell that a little twinkle in his eye is giving him hope for the next generation.
That makes me happy. Okay, good.
You play a little song, and
They said world's smallest violin.
and he literally he starts telling this story of how he is tracked down. There's this map, and it was confusing in layout and foreign in tongue, so he had to track down and figure out where's the location, because just because you have a map, you don't know where you start necessarily.
Okay.
He spent probably 2 years tracking down some scholar who could just decipher it, some mad scholar who could decipher it. And upon doing so, he learned that it was along the Shredded Spear coast, that there is this sort of encampment that was literally built into the rocks. It's along a cliff, and he describes it as a magnificent place with probably a 300-foot drop just to the water, and there's these tombs, and it was supposedly the home of a great army that his uncle served in.
Chime's eyes are going to widen just at the sheer, like almost like a tease of what could be a great tale that could be told in the future. My eyes kind of widen. I kind of put down the quill, and I say, "Do you know where this place is?"
Uh, Actually, yes, I have, I have found people who have been able to decipher the map, and I was there. It's about an hour out from here.
Chime looks dead straight, kind of like his eyes kind of like, return back to normal from their shock, and he's almost salivating at the thought of this place. And Chime sort of calmly just sort of asks, he says, as politely as he can, is it possible for you to take me to this place? I'd very much like to see it with my own eyes.
Okay. First, I'm going to have you roll lore because.
I have lore as a skill, so
Yep.
what is that? Yep.
That means that it is always going to be a success. It's just how good of a success it is.
Okay, yep. So I rolled 2d6. I got a 3 and a 3, and do I add my intelligence to this?
I don't think you do.
Yep, that's okay. I got a 6 then.
Okay. A 6 is a partial success. You've heard of such of an encampment, but only in other people's poems or ballads or songs, and it's always about this mighty ruler who built this keep inside the cliffs of the mountain, or the cliffs of the coast of the cove, and it's literally a small cove where the tide rushes in and crashes against the waves, or crashes against the rocks, and very few ships are even able to land there. However, there is fabled that there is an entrance, but no one has ever been inside of it that has sung about it or written about it. So,
I nod and I call to him. Have you ever heard of the poem Rock Face Against the Wave? Which I'm trying to make up is this poem or song you said which relates to this sort of similar description you gave.
yep. Um, yeah, he's gonna roll a fate die, and he gets a 6. So, he says, "Yes, I have, and they are all fables, myths, and what I'm talking about is a genuine experience, something you can touch, you can feel inside yourself. Upon walking through these hallways, you can literally feel who have inhabited them."
Again, Chime's eyes widen against his own control, and I say, a good bard is able to translate through song and music, feeling and emotion. I would very much like to travel to this place and see it for myself.
Okay, and that'll be the end of the flashback.
Yep.
This he has agreed to do so. First thing in the morning, he will get his cart, his horses, and his cart, and he'll be able to provide transportation to the location.
Perfect.
However, I'm going to roll a fate die again to see how your night is, unless you'd like to roll.
I'll let you roll.
All right.
Roll Fable again.
All right. You actually had a pretty good night. You got actually paid to
Oh. Okay, that makes me.
paid to work there. Because you provided such good entertainment for everyone. And you just as you're getting up and ready for the morning, you see fresh clothes, of high quality, and under in front of your door in a small tweed basket, and
That's okay.
and inside of it, it also says, you prepare yourself. Like, it just says a short note, prepare yourself, on some light parchment. The parchment itself, if you were to examine it, feels older, as if someone has bought in parchment and never had to use it before in their whole life. It's like,
Okay.
it's probably whoever sent these clothes, which they're actually leather padded on the inside, but resemble fancy men's clothes.
Ooh, okay. That's very very practical for me then.
They're
In
very
that
well
case,
tailored.
I'm going to prepare myself for the morning then. I'm going to kind of get some water washed over my face, do a couple push-ups, roll my shoulders a bit, and kind of don on these new clothes.
Alright.
Make sure they fit.
Alright, they do fit, and your armor and speed is now at light and normal, which means your armor is at +1.
Okay.
Now, with armor, that gets subtracted from damage dealt to you
Flat
every
reduction?
time. Yes.
Okay.
So I will write fancy men's armor +1. Okay.
Yep.
Now, as you set out, you've set out. You've traveled with him. Is there anything you would like to ask him along the way that you remember?
Just before, just interject. Did I get his name? His name last night? I think you may have said it, but I think I forgot to write it down.
He actually never mentioned his name, but
Never mentioned it. Okay, I thought something was a little bit off there.
as you were traveling with him, you obviously asked him what his name is. His name is Rufus.
Rufus.
One sec, I
Okay.
can't remember the last name I chose for him. Rufus Macaria.
Macaria. Okay, there's nothing else I really wish to kind of ask or talk about. I'll make light conversation if he starts it or initiates it. Until then, I'm kind of just going to be taking out my parchment, kind of like sketching just crude designs of the landscape as we traverse through the shredded sphere.
Okay.
And I'm going to kind of like hum like a peaceful kind of tune as I kind of choose to do so.
Okay. Do you want that to affect him? Because if that affects him, then you would have to roll a dice for it. It may make him more
Uh,
positive or friendly.
yeah, I mean, I'll try and heighten the morale, I guess. Yeah, I'll
All
try to
right.
do that. So,
So,
2d6
yep,
in particular.
2d6 charisma.
So plus 2 from charisma roll. I got a 3 and a 3, so 6 plus 3. I got a 9.
All right, that's a partial success. He
Yep.
seems he seems an air of fresh invigoration in him. He seems very well-to-do now, but he's trying to hide it. So it's like, oh, this is a pretty good tune. I better not let him know.
Okay, well, if I do notice him kind of choose to hide, I'm just gonna like sing out just a little bit louder. Just keep going.
Okay. That's actually, I'm going to say that gives, because he's acting as a hireling almost.
Yep.
So that gives him +1 damage.
Okay.
Because obviously you have raised his morale.
Okay. Good. Just kind of ask as well. This is out of character. What does leadership do as a skill?
Leadership,
Yeah.
as if he's a hireling,
Mhm.
you'd roll leadership instead of charisma if you need to get something done, like or command him or something.
Okay. Yep.
Which if you're using it as if you're using a skill, you cannot fail. You'll always have a success. It's just what degree. Um,
Okay.
Whereas if you were to use just straight up charisma as an attribute, you can fail.
Okay. Yep. I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. Yep. That's perfect by me.
Okay.
Very good. Yep.
Um, and I'll just so you know, you notice that he has a short sword,
Mhm.
and he also is carrying a small buckler on his back, a small round buckler made of wood, but the wood is cracked down the center, and he's got
The
light
cross.
armor.
Okay. I'm going to take out my spyglass, my equipment, and I'm going to kind of like survey up on ahead, see if I can spot anything out of the ordinary.
Okay, as you spot the terrain, as you look across the landscape, the sun is getting mid in the sky, and you see that there is this wall of stone off in the distance, and you recognize this as the cliffs for the shredded spear. Um, the inland cliffs. Now, the inland cliffs raise about 80 feet tall,
Yep.
and they are impossible to scale because they literally angle over the terrain.
Okay, that's pretty intense.
It's actually very dangerous for anyone to come near it because there have been tremors that literally send landslides and rocks colliding down, dropping down near the cliffs.
Okay. Yep. Interesting.
And you actually feel one of these slight tremors, but it's very slight and it's barely noticeable.
Okay.
And as
Were
you
the
see it,
tremors?
no rocks fall in the distance. So,
Okay. Were the tremors felt in the town that we were just in?
no.
On... No. Okay. Interesting. Okay.
But that
Hmm.
could also be because you were inside a building and because there's foundation work and blah 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 blah
Okay.
blah.
I'll keep that. Mm-hmm.
As you continue down the path, the road, he turns off and he ties the horse to a tree, uh, lays out a few buckets of water that he had packed, emptying various wineskins into these buckets. um, and he actually empties one very large one that literally could have been like the stomach of a cow, just tailored for this. And he empties buckets for the horse. He pets the horse's mane and he says, "I will be back." And he begins to walk off the trail. And he motions for you to follow him.
I'll pat the horse as well, same as he did, and I'm going to move on up after him as well. I'm going
Okay.
to put my spyglass away. I'm going to kind of rest my hand on my dagger in my belt
Okay.
and continue.
It's very flat terrain, very singular trees in the distance. However, as you walk, it's a good, I don't know, it took you about 30 minutes by horse, the wagon cart, but you were also in no rush, so it easily could have taken less time. But you can see the town off in the distance.
Okay.
And as you walk off the trail or the road, you come across this giant boulder, and it is right in front of the cliff wall, and it kind of has another boulder that seems to have lodged itself between the two, but it creates sort of a little tunnel.
Okay. How large? Are we able to stand up in this tunnel, or we have to like crawl through it?
You're able to easily walk through it. Multiple men wide could walk through it.
Okay. Uh, can I give it like an examination to see if this thing looks sturdy and safe?
Yes, I would say that is. Um, I would say intelligence.
I
So
would as
plus
well.
two.
Okay. Yep. Roll 2d6. I got a 4 and a 6. I got a 6 plus 2. I got an 8.
Okay, that is a partial success. It looks sturdy. However, if a large enough tremor were to occur, it could possibly block the entrance.
Epic plot foreshadowing. Okay, I'm gonna nod and I say, okay. I turn to my companion Rufus and I say, okay, I think this looks safe. Do you have anything we can put here? Anything large enough that might stop it from closing in on us? Or are there additional ways out that you know of?
He looks into his bag that he is carrying, his sack, and he pulls out a collapsible pole. A wooden
Okay.
collapsible pole that obviously has seen better days. And he looks
Gonna,
at you and is like, I'm not sure. We could try pushing one of these rocks over so we could at least crawl. But
I look a little bit blank and I say, quite calmly, I say, as a rule of thumb, I never go anywhere unless I have my escape route pre-planned. And I said, uh, I'll be, the words escape me. I would be thankful. I'll say that. I'll be thankful if we could at least try to.
okay, alright.
I'm trying to help my shifter rock kind of over, just in case if the larger boulder crumbles down, we'll have some kind of escape. Hopefully.
Okay, you end up both pushing the boulder close. You'd be able to easily kneel and walk through on hands and knees if something were to collapse on top of it. So yes, there is now an
Yeah.
escape route.
Just to be safe. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I'm then. So I'll go on through.
Okay, as you enter this little area, you see as the light comes in through the entrance, it hits the side of the cliff and creates this shadow into it. And you see that there is actually a built entrance.
Okay.
It's about an 8 foot high door, and it's missing the door actually because the wood has literally rotted away over time. No amount of stain or anything could have kept it from rotting, but because of how much time has passed. But
Okay.
it
I'm going
has
to.
these ornate drawings and sketches within the wood itself engraved in it.
I was going to ask if I'm able to move up to sort of frame and examine any kind of hieroglyphs rather, marks, insignias, scriptures embedded into the actual stone or the wood itself that I can see.
Okay.
And then am I able to make like a lore check or something of the sort to discern if I can find what kind of faction these belong to or civilization?
Yes, you can use
Just trying
lore
to
or
update.
whichever whichever you prefer.
I'd rather use lore. Yeah, I'm gonna roll 2d6. I got a 3 and a 2, so I got a 5. I don't add do I add my intelligence?
I'd say wisdom would go on top of it because it's
Wisdom,
something
okay.
you've learned.
6. Yep, I got a 6 then.
All right. And that is a partial success.
Yep.
And you recognize them. They are familiar, some of them, but you can only half read them from what you've learned in your travels.
Yep.
And what you do understand and do read is that it says House of Shatar.
House of Shatar. I turn to my companion Rufus and I say, my dialect of this language is a little bit rusty. I haven't spoken it in a while. I say, but when I can gauge translates into House of Shatar. Does that name ring any bells to you?
Okay, he's going to look at you very blankly, and he says, "Well, I wish I knew how to read and write. And
I
then
feel
he's
sorry.
and he says, Shatar is the god of war in this land, um, but he is only a legend and myth. Most people usually name outposts after Shatar as
I know.
sort of a designation of what this outpost is meant to do and accomplish.
I know. So I say, do you think this is a an outpost then, or a temple, or like a church to him?
Again, he looks at you and says, he looks at you, he scratches his chin and rubs his shoulder and kind of puts one hand on his hilt. And he says, "That is a good question. I never made it past the first few rooms."
I know. I'm gonna say, okay, well, let's have a look what's held in the first few rooms then. And I say, after you. I sort of I take a big step back away from the entrance and say, after you, kind of like wave my hands into him,
Okay,
with
fancy.
like a grin on my face.
Okay, he will walk in through the entrance, and will you follow him exactly after, or will you wait for him to come back out and motion to you?
I'll wait like a second or two. So who step in, take a few steps, and I'll come in afterwards. I'm gonna like take a break, a big deep breath. I'm gonna like adjust my fancy hat. I picture myself wearing like a hat with a feather in it. Adjust my hat and put my right hand resting on the dagger again. I'm gonna kind of walk in after him.
Okay, as you do so, you walk into sheer darkness, and then a small light flickers as you see him, like little scratches of light, little sparks, and then a torch brings light to the entire room. What you see is a, one second as I count the sides because I don't remember. It's pretty much an eight-sided room similar to a dice in shape, but
Yep.
it's literally as if you were to look on the inside of, let's say, a D12.
Okay.
So it's curved at the bottom of each wall and curved at the roof of each wall, and it's cylindrical in shape,
Okay. Hmm.
but obviously
Can I see?
polyhedral.
Yeah. Can I see any like any additional torches on this like on the interior walls lying around?
I will say there is one. Actually, there are two. One on each wall, in front of these ragged curtains.
I'm going to kind of try to keep my voice down. I'm going to kind of point towards the torch and point towards the torch on the wall, the one that he has lit. So point that towards the wall. And are the curtains like directly overhead of this torch or like off to the side?
Off to
Uh,
the side.
so they're okay. Okay. Yep.
You're
So
safe to light it.
yeah. Okay. I've been in many games where it's been the opposite case. Just to make sure. So yeah, I'll point towards him and point towards the torch on the wall. I'm going to kind of walk towards this sort of draped curtain, kind of examine it a little bit. I'm going to draw my small blade now, just as a precaution. I'm going to try and like run my left hand over the fabric.
As you, how much pressure are you going to put when you run it over?
Very faintly, as if I was like trailing my hand over a bowl of water, just enough to leave really small ripples, not like delve it straight in, just like a soft kind of trail over it.
Okay, you run your fingers across the fabric. It is this uh, dark burnt orange fabric, and it
Mhm.
has a similar symbol that reads Shatar, just in a different language than what was on the door,
Different language. Interesting. Okay.
or at least a different dialect of the same language.
Okay. Yep.
There are
Hmm.
similarities between the two, enough that you're able to translate, but you don't pick up the hidden meanings.
Okay. Yep. Interesting.
As you run your fingers across, you do feel a slight bump, just a raised ledge behind the curtain, and
Okay.
it's about shoulder height if you were feeling that way. So
I'm going to use my fingers kind of like call my companion over, Rufus, and I'm going to I'm going to sort of like hover my hands over the curtain as if I was going to like as if I was going to yank it back, and I'm going to raise my hand which is holding the current blade with three fingers up. I'm going to go three, two, one. I'm going to pull back the curtain, sort of jump back at the same time.
Okay, you see a blank wall with one brick of stone slightly out, as if it was. And if you look at this stone and were to examine it, it looks freshly made. And Rufus, his eyes brighten and he looks at you, and in similar, you probably look back, just curious as to why his eyes are so bright.
Definitely, yeah. My heart skips a beat now. I'm really pumped now. Very excited. And like a big grin spreads on my face and say, "What's that?" Very quietly.
He, without speaking, presses the brick into the wall. Are you going to attempt to stop him?
Nope.
Okay, as he does so, the bricks literally, you feel a slight tremor. A little bit of dust falls from the curtains and onto the floor, and from the ceiling, dirt also falls onto the floor, but not just enough to make you cough. Um, and the bricks begin to fall downwards.
Okay.
And
A
what
couple
you
steps. Mhm.
and I'm guessing you walk to the side so that you're not able to be seen through this entryway.
Ideally, yes.
Okay. As you do so, this about a 5 foot by 5 foot platform appears and it levels to the floor's height. And if you were to kind of peek around the corner, you see stone tables and wooden chairs that have been broken and smashed. And Rufus motions to you to come closer to him, and he is leaned up against the other side of the doorway.
I'm going to try and, if I can see no movement in the room, which has just opened up, I'm going to perform a quick little dash, like a tumble over towards him.
Okay, I'm going to have to say that you have to roll. Let's see. I'm trying to think what would be, because it would be awareness ideally if it was a tribute, but I'll say it's intelligence half, so +1.
Okay, yep. Roll 2d6. I got a 6 and a 2, so I got an 8. +1, I got a 9.
Okay, that is a partial success. You see no movement at all. However, you see that a little bit of dust has fallen from the ceiling. By seeing this dust, it literally, if you were to smell inwards, it smells like it's just old, dusty, and probably mold on whatever linens are left in the room. So fresh
Okay.
air has not been in this room for a while.
Okay, and I guess I kind of breathe out a little bit, kind of a little bit thankful, but at the same time a little bit disappointed I wasn't able to experience something firsthand just yet. And I kind of keep hold of my dagger, kind of sort of move over towards Rufus, my companion, and I'm going to point out that what I just noticed, that pressure has not transpired in this room for a very, very, very long time.
Rufus peeks around the corner, and he says, "This." He pulls out the parchment and holds it under the torch, under his cloak. Similar, so he can light, not necessarily so that the light doesn't spread across the place, and you peek under his cloak as well, so that not everyone. He's very he keeps the map close to himself.
Okay.
As if it's very precious to him, which it probably is since it came from his uncle.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him some space. I'm looking to intrude over it, but yeah, okay.
He looks back to you and he says, "This is the dining hall."
I turn to him and I say, how did you know that this stone would open this?
He smiles and says, there's not necessarily supposed to be even a doorway here, but the rooms are very close on the map in markings, and they have a similar ending to their title. So I presumed it was an extension between the two. I just was not sure how you were to get across.
I nod and I say, that stone looks like it was placed there recently and almost new. be on your feet. We probably are not alone here, and I'm gonna continue on forward into
Okay.
the dining room.
All right. As you enter the dining hall, it is about 15 feet by width, being the wall that the door is on, and then 25 feet by length.
Okay. Hmm.
And you notice that there is essentially three or four small tables in here. So obviously, whoever lived here or took stay here, they rotated shifts, so they had different eating schedules and such,
Okay. Yep.
um, which is uh, which is apparent by this because of your
I want
travels.
to. Yep. I want to examine the tables. Are there any food still on the tables? Isn't like plates with food on them? Has this something
You
happened in a hurry, or is it all kind of like promptly deserted?
it is very deserted. There are a few tables with what looks like scraps of food, but whatever food is there is just crumbs that and where the majority has been eaten by rats.
Okay, I'm
You can
going to
assume.
turn to my companion. Yeah, and hopefully rats. And I turn to my companion, kind of like trail a dagger on the table, the stone table, and kind of like drag it or like trail it up very softly towards one of the plates. I'm gonna kind of tap on it with the end of my blade, and I say, there's some food still here. I think something happened here in a hurry that caught them off guard. Perhaps even while they're still eating.
All right, he is going to roll um intelligence
Mhm.
for him, which is at 1. So 7, 8. All right, and that is a partial success. He looks to you. He understands what you're saying, but things do not click. There is no spark in there right now. He's very focused on his map as he
Okay.
marks in spaces as you explore them and adds additions.
Can I see any doors that seem to be exiting out of this room?
There is one door
Hmm.
on the parallel wall to the entrance that you entered.
Yep.
So it's another 15-foot wall along the far side of the room, in between
Just
or
out of
after the
character.
tables.
Just out of character. Playing with people from America, trying to translate feet into meters, because we use a different scale here in Australia. It always gets confusing, but I am following. It's just like it'll take me a couple of seconds to convert it over back to what I'm used to, so I can see it. Just so you
Okay,
know. So, yeah. Okay, but yep.
I'll keep that
No.
in mind next time.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to kind of nod. And is there anything else in the room that seems to be out of the ordinary? So there's just kind of tables. Is there any kind of like a bar or like a kitchen, perhaps?
There is no bar. There
Hmm.
is also no kitchen. You can assume that whatever food was brought in here was probably brought from the outside of the place. That's why they are so close together to the
Okay.
entrance. Um, but the door is shut and it has a small knot hole in it that you could
Okay.
easily peek out of.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to kind of move towards a little bit and kind of squat down a little bit. And I'm going to kind of, so I'll see if I can peek through it.
All right. As you do so, you are met with another eye.
Ooh. Okay. I'm going to try and try my hardest to keep my calm. I'm going to keep looking at it.
Okay. As you do so, it is unblinking. It does not blink, and it actually does not move.
I'm going to try to keep my eyes open for as long as I can before I have to blink, and I want to blink as quickly as I can to see if it's still there.
As you do so, it still does not move, and it remains in position.
I'm going to. How thick is the door that I can kind of gauge?
The door is not very thick. It would probably be about 1 inch, but the hinges aren't exactly metal. It was a door that it's old enough that it probably could be knocked down if you really wanted to.
And the door is made from wood.
Yes, a very light wood.
I'm going to grip my blade. I'm going to like raise it up to where its chest would be roughly on the door and kind of like hover it over the wood. And I'm going to kind of call out and say, "Can you hear me?"
You hear nothing. The eye does not move. It does not blink. It does nothing. It literally remains endlessly staring into you.
With my free hand, I want to call over my companion, and I'm going to take like half a step back from the door. I'm going to try and like breathe through the hole.
All right, are you going to have Rufus kind of observe what happens through the hole?
Uh, I picture if he's kind of like blocking the hole, the air won't go through the hole. So I kind of want him like around the corner of the door, just in case something happens.
Okay.
I'm gonna try like breathe out like a gust of breath through the hole, like onto the side. I'll see if it reacts at all.
As you do so, you hear a slight tap and then the sound of something rolling across the floor.
I want to lower my head again and look through the eye hole.
The eye is no longer there.
Okay. I explain what I just saw to my companion, and I say, let's go say hi. And I'm going to kind of put my hand over the door and try and pull it back.
As you pull it back, you meet no resistance, and it actually falls off its hinges, and you slightly move it to the side. Rufus assists you, and you see a small, dull, with a dull shine glass ball on the floor, and you see its iris. It's it's a glass eye.
I turn to my companion Rufus and I jokingly say I didn't know I was quite that strong, and I kind of look towards the door on the floor now, and I'm going to kind of walk forward and kind of crouch down. I want to take off some cloth or parchment from somewhere on my person. I want to try and like wrap it over this sort of glass ball and sort of like raise it up and kind of examine it a little bit more
Okay.
in the light of the torch.
All right. As you make no contact with it, you lift it up and you examine it, and it still seems to not move. And it makes no sound. It has no touch to it. It's very hard, but it could easily probably break if you threw it on the ground.
Am I able to roughly date how old this place is from the ruins and the hieroglyphs and such? Like, am I able to gauge how old this place is?
Roll lore.
Oh, Lord, okay. 2d6, I got a 1 and a 3, so I got a 4.
Okay.
If I have my lore skill.
So you got a 4?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Without any mods.
Yep, that makes it. As a partial success, you're able to tell that it's old and possibly over 400 years old. So
Now, am I able to make a second roll to determine if we had this kind of technology, or sort of like the skills to make like glass eyes 400 years ago?
I'd say with your previous roll, I'll give that to you, and that there was no glass eyes. You actually The glass eyes even now are very rare and treasured and valuable as they make someone's appearance look more human. Like
Okay.
it's better than having an empty eye socket. So
Okay, I'm going to pocket this glass. I'm going to wrap it in more sort of like parchment. I'm going to turn to my companion and I say, "Do you know? Fun fact, Sir." I'll say Sir Rufus in a very like almost like a patronizing kind of way. That glass eyes were made by a scholar called Sir Vitus about 175 years ago, and this place is at least 400 years old. And I say, people pay a great fortune for glass eyes nowadays. And I say, now, how on earth did a glass eye end up in here? And I turn to my companion and I say, I think something is ajar here. I think we should keep. I think we should keep going forward.
all right, I'm gonna roll for Rufus quick.
Yep.
He just simply shrugs, and he motions towards the floor where the glass eye had been, and
Yep.
you see him put his hand on the floor and run his finger across the floor, and you see a streak in the dust. And next to that streak, you see two large footprints in the dust.
Ooh. Okay. From the size of the footprints, am I able to gauge how tall these things would be? Is there footprint size like as one of myself, or like larger, or
Actually, probably smaller.
smaller? Okay. Yep.
I would say probably like, I'm roughly estimating you're probably like I can't say feet now. Um,
Yeah. I mean, if you say it, it'll take me a couple of seconds to kind of translate it over to my system here. But
I'll
yeah, that's
say
okay.
average size male.
Average
Um,
size. Okay,
so
yeah, that works for me.
um, a
Uh,
little a little bit under basketball player. The person would probably be roughly a few hands shorter.
okay. As the second I see him sort of trail the footprints into like his finger into the footprints. I'm gonna go full alert mode. I'm gonna draw my blade again, and I'm gonna like crouch down. I'm gonna kind of like survey the room, like check all the corners, check to see how many doors are here. I also want to check if the footprints seem to lead anywhere, or if they only sort of like end and start there.
Okay. As Rufus shines his light out of the doorway that you have just opened, you see that there's a wall, probably your height away from you. So you are in a hallway. It goes in both directions. However, it ends short in the right, and it carries on into black on the left. And the footprints do lead off to the left.
Okay. I just want to give the room currently in a quick the corridor a quick survey, see if there's anything else of importance or value here. And once I'm happy and confident that there is not, if there is not anyway, if you need me to roll, just feel free to interject. And
No, you do not need to roll. There is literally just dust. You have picked up the glass eye. You have pocketed it. That seems to be
yep.
the item of highest value in this hallway.
Okay. I'm going to walk forward on, and I'm going to turn right, and I want to examine this right side first.
Okay, as you do so, you are met with another curtain of the burnt orange color, and it encompasses the entire wall.
I want to give a quick examination of this material again, and I want to see if I can find any markings on it like I did last time.
Okay, so I'll say roll intelligence.
Yep, 2d6. I got a 3 and a 3 again. I got so 6 plus 2, I got an 8.
Okay, that is a partial success. You feel nothing. It feels like just a solid wall.
Okay,
There is no raised bricks in it.
Okay. How large or how tall does this curtain extend upwards?
It extends upwards. It probably goes from the floor to your height, or a few hands above your height.
I want to take down this curtain.
Okay. Are you going to simply cut it, or just give it a tug and try to catch?
I want to try and give it a little bit of a tug. Like, how is it supported? Is it like with like?
It's supported on a rail, a bar that is on hooks, so that easy placement of a new curtain could be exchanged.
Okay, I'm going to try to just tug it down then. As quietly as I can.
That'll be dexterity.
Okay. Roll 2d6. There we go. I got a 5 and a 3, so I got an 8 plus 2. I got a 10.
Okay, that is a success. As you do so, you are able to dislodge it from the hooks, from the wall, and you're able to catch it without it dropping to the floor.
Okay. I want to sort of cut this sort of curtain in half with my little shiv, and I kind of want to like drape it over my shoulders.
Rufus looks to you and he smiles and he says, "You fancy men."
I turn towards Rufus and I kind of like with my free hand tap it onto like the bow of my sort of of my hat, and kind of like tilt my head towards, kind of tilt my hat down as well, and thanks. And as I kind of back up, I'm gonna wink and chuckle a little bit, and I say, "Yeah, put this on as well." And I at second half.
He drapes it over one of his shoulders, the opposite shoulder to what you have it on, so almost as if your party is part of a singular being, but that's how he views it.
Okay.
It brings you closer together as a group. As you chuckle, however, you hear a slight tapping.
From the wall?
No,
down the corridor?
from the floor, down the corridor.
I'm going to turn towards the source of the tapping, and I want to lean down as well and kind of tap on the floor and like in response to it.
The tapping becomes louder and seems to be getting closer now.
I turn towards Rufus and say, Rufus, can you be a dear and take a couple steps forward? I don't want to ruin this handsome face. And I'm going to take half a step back and I unsheath, if you would say that, my short bow. And
Okay.
draw an arrow with the string.
Okay. Rufus sort of actually roll leadership.
Yep. So I got 2d6, I got a 5 and a 2, I got a 7. Do I add my charisma?
No, you do not add attributes to your skill rolls because they're already successes,
Yeah. I got a 7, but I got my leadership skill, so it's
which is a complete success. So, 7 to 9 is a better success than 6 and below, and then anything above 9 is a critical success when it comes to skills.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
As you do so, Rufus throws the torch across the floor, and you hear the footsteps get farther away, but then come a little closer. The tapping gets closer, and you see a small dog.
Okay. Does it look normal?
It looks
dog.
like an average dog. However, roll. I'd say. What would be closest to awareness as an attribute again? Intelligence half.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I got a 3. I got a 6 plus 1, 7.
Okay. You notice that it has a small leather collar.
Okay. Does you said a small dog is like a pup or just a small breed of dog?
A small breed of dog. It would
Okay.
probably, at sitting height, would be a little above your knee, so mid-thigh.
Okay. It looks cute. I'm going to I'm going to lower my bow slightly, but not lower my guard, and I want to let out a little kind of whistle towards the dog.
Let me roll die fate quick. Alright. He gets scared and actually runs off in a different direction and begins barking.
God damn it. Okay. Damn dogs. I'm going to turn through and say after that dog, and I'm going to break into a sprint.
Okay.
Heading up.
So that would be probably strength at first to run. So
Yep.
roll that.
Oh, that's plus 0. Come on. I got an 8.
Alright, that's good. That's a
5
success.
and a 3.
You were able to keep up after the dog, but you were not able to gain on him.
That's okay.
As you do so, you see sort of the floor, the tiles become uneven, so now roll dexterity as you're keeping up with him.
Yep, I got a 5 and a 1, so I got a 6 plus 2, I got a 8.
Alright, you make it. You were able to keep up. You were dodging back and forth among them. Now Rufus is going to roll to see how he is doing with keeping up, and then
I imagine Rufus picks up the torch as he goes as well. Like, if not, I kind of call out like torch.
yep.
Yep.
He obviously picked up the torch near the dog as he ran after you. And he does make it. He's able to keep up. Now, as you are running on the uneven tiles, he's also able to keep up, and he lights a second torch and throws it off after the dog.
Okay.
Because you end up hitting another turn, but the dog continues to run forward and is now clawing at a door. So you ran past a left-hand turn.
Yep.
And you are now in the same hallway, but you have reached a door.
Okay, I want to kind of slow down a little bit and kind of see how this dog reacts to the door.
He is clawing at it very viciously.
I want to go into my pack and take out some of my adventuring rations, and I want to kind of rest it on the floor and take a step back.
Okay.
And I want to indicate for Rufus to keep an eye on the left-hand corridor that we just passed, because something sneaks up on us.
Okay.
It's like
yeah.
I'll bring 2 fingers to my eye and then point 1 to the corridor, just watch there.
Okay. Rufus shields one side of the torch with his cloak, while holding his hand in the arm that is holding the cloak as well. so that the light does not shine down that hallway but remains on your side of the corridor.
Okay. Yep.
And he is on guard and he keeps his eyes towards you similarly, because he is also curious as to the dog. The
Hmm.
dog actually kind of smells it and then very nervously walks up towards it and then stays a few steps back from it.
I want to lower my bow. I want to unknock an arrow from the string. I want to like put the bow back over my back and shift my little ship, if you would, to a more convenient place to pull out if I need to. I kind of like just very slowly crouch, and I want to kind of like from like the back of my throat let out like a soft kind of like a chorus and a humming. And am I able to use a special ability charm on this dog?
Yes.
I am. Okay. In this case, I kind of want to go full dog whisperer now. I kind of want like like a really soft kind of chorus like humming almost towards this dog, and I kind of want to like extend out my hand and kind of like pick up the food and kind of extend my open palm towards the dog with the food in my hand.
Okay. As you do so, I would say you roll it as if it was a skill.
Yep.
So you'll always succeed. It's just what degree.
I got a 3 and a 5, so I got an 8.
Okay, you make it. You have him as you charm him, and he actually is after he finishes the food that is on the floor, he lays down on his belly and
So
sort of starts whining towards you.
I want to give the dog a quick examination to try to find out if it's like injured or hurt or anything of the sorts. And
Um,
if it looks like skinny or underfed as well.
it actually looks like it has been fed quite well.
Okay.
But it also seems that its skin is pale, so it has not seen sunlight in a while, and actually it flinches at the sight of the torch.
Okay. I want to give the collar a quick examination. Is there any kind of like marks or tags on the collar?
It seems like there is kind of like a hook, like a small loop that someone could attach a hook to keep it at a station.
Okay. I want to like let out a small kind of whistle and like sort of indicate the dog to follow. I'm kind of like I'll walk towards the door. Is there like a keyhole to this door?
Yes.
I'm kind of crouch down again and kind of peek through it.
As you do so, you actually see a small glimmer of light and shadows against the wall, outlining figures. These figures, from what you can see, have very larger than normal heads, but very small bodies, and their fingers stretch across the shadows.
How many can I see?
You see distinctly two, but the shadows are also flickering, so it could be multiple.
Okay. I'm going to take a big step back. I'm going to breathe in and I'm going to shout out very loudly. Atkinson, James, take that turn there. And basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try and call out a big flurry of names as if I'm issuing orders to a lot of people, like to a large number of people. And then I want to point at them and say, Rufus, break down that door. Just like I clearly want to state like 10 or 12 like common names that would be in this land and just be like, turn down here, turn here. Like I'm like barking out orders quite loudly.
Okay.
And my final one would be Rufus, break down that door.
All right. I will say charisma
Yep. Roll 2d6.
or leadership, whichever you'd prefer.
I got a 4 and 2, so I got a 6. So if I use charisma, it's +3, so I got a 9.
Okay. We'll go with leadership because you are trying to mimic a leader of
Yep.
obviously issuing out orders.
Also, yep.
As you do so, are you going to peek through the keyhole again before
I do.
Rufus kicks in?
I do not.
Um,
Take a big step back.
Okay, Rufus kicks in the door, it slams on the ground, and he sprints forward and takes positions. And you see that the light that had been shining is out.
What I want to do, I want to step forward, and I want to kind of like make it look really dramatic, almost have like my hat lowered down, so it's kind of obscuring my eyes. I'm going to step into the hallway, I'm going to like pull back my hat, and I'm going to like cough a little bit. I'm going to turn towards the darkness and say, I am Captain Vitus of His Majesty's Royal Guard. So we mean you no harm if you make yourself known. Please step out. I know you're here. I say very calmly, as calmly as I can, with as much authority as I can muster. I say, we have several dozen people scouring these corridors as we speak. And say, please, we mean you no harm. And I sheath the dagger I was holding back into my pocket.
All right. Roll charisma quick to be convincing.
Yep. I got a 5 and a 2, so I got a 7 plus 3, I got a 10.
Okay, you make it. You are very dramatic. You swoop your burnt orange tapestry over your shoulder and tip your hat down and literally issue out the command for them to come forward. And you hear slight tapping across the ground again, but of heavier footsteps.
Coming from in the room we just walked in or behind us?
From the room you've just walked in.
Okay. I want to kind of...
They are getting almost thunderous as they get towards you.
Okay, I kind of want to hold my ground. I kind of want to point... I want to kind of look like... avert my... keep my head fixated forward. I want to kind of tilt my eyes towards the roofers and kind of tilt it forward. It's like staring at the torch towards him. I'll kind of throw it down. Or, at least provide some light.
All right. He throws the torch down in front of you, and you hear a slight screech, or a few paces in front of the party, and you hear a slight screeching. And you see two pale, disgustingly pale creatures with gangly arms, and they're malnourished.
Malnourished, okay. Yep.
And they have these bulbous heads which seem to that are deformed in muscle along the cranium or the forehead. And they are literally screeching in agony as the light bounces across them.
I calmly adjust my pose a little bit, and I turn towards them and say, please be quiet. And I look towards them and I say, please state your names. And I'll move forward when I put my boot over the handle of the torch, kind of pull it back closer towards me.
Okay.
I'll say state your names.
As you do, they do not speak. They just continue to screech. Roll lore.
Okay. I got 2 6s.
All right, nice. You
yes.
notice that they are malnourished. The dog has similarly pale skin, and whatever they are, they have been here for a while. As they have lost all hair, they are older. They're more older than Rufus. They obviously have... And their clothes are tattered and barely covering them. They're hanging off the bones.
That's interesting. I turn towards him once more and I say, do you understand me? In a calm voice.
One of them taps their hand on the ground twice.
I say, am I a man?
Taps his hand on the ground once.
I lower myself down, sometimes I kind of crouch down, and I say, tap once if you understand.
He taps once more. But the other continues to screech and then grows silent as the tapping occurs. And then lets out a sigh.
I say, stand up if you understand me.
Both of them stand up.
Okay, so I kind of stand up.
But they have kind of a hunched back, and they kind of cower in fear.
I kind of look towards them and say, no harm will come to you. And I, again, open up my adventuring ration, kind of provide them some food.
They seem very grateful, but they hoard it close to their bodies, what you do give them. And they run off. They begin to slowly step backwards, back into the dark of the corner of the room.
Mm-hmm. Can we still see them? Or are they obscured by darkness?
You can still see them. You can see them lightly.
Okay. I turn to them and say, it's interesting. I say, do you think this dog belongs to them?
Rufus looks to you and he says, I am unsure.
I ask Rufus what room we're currently in.
He looks down at the map and he says, there should be a window to the left of the entrance. Actually, no, right, the right of the entrance. This room, it seems to be an observation room.
I nod and I want to kind of walk towards him a little bit in the darkness. And I want to kind of like start searching for a window, not ignoring them, but giving them space.
Okay, as you do so, you step around them, and
Yep.
you come towards, and you feel against the wall a large curtain. But as you run your fingers across it, you feel very indentations, and then you feel the coldness of what must be steel bars.
I turn to the two and I say, tap once if you two are alone in here.
They tap twice.
I nod and I say, I kind of sigh a little bit. And I say, tap once if you've seen what else you're here with.
They tap twice.
Okay. I nod and I say, tap once if it's friendly.
They tap once.
I stroke and I say, tap once if you'll take me to it.
Before tapping, they actually walk over towards you and they remove the curtain from the wall, slowly sliding it across its bar. And you see flickers of green light come shining through the windows. And you see another wall, another room, and a fountain. And along the sides of the walls of the fountain, holding in the liquid of the pool of water, you see similar creatures, but they are not moving. They are strewn across the ground. They are bodies.
I say, tap once if they're alive.
They don't tap at all. They actually walk and take a gander through the window, and then you hear a slight whine, and then they fall to the ground.
Okay. Is there like a doorway into this room from here, from this observation tower, or like observation room? Is there a door into this sort of room that has the front?
You would not be able to squeeze through the window. However, if you peer through the window at an angle, you can see a set of stairs to the left of the window.
Okay, I turn to Rufus and say, I turn to Rufus and say, we need to get down there.
He nods to you and motions to the creatures.
I say, just leave them here. They don't seem to be a threat.
Okay. Are you exiting the room with the dog?
Yes, I am.
Okay. The dog is following you at a cautious distance, but he eventually comes up to Rufus, and Rufus pets him and gives him a little love, and then the dog begins to lead the way.
Okay. As I exit the room, I want to kind of look directly behind me, or like towards again, like any kind of first turn I can see it, and I kind of want to call out some more orders, trying to keep the ruse on that there actually is a force of men in these tunnels.
Okay. As you do so, you hear hurried footsteps come from the hallway, and you see complete blackness from the hallway, and the torch shines down it. Rufus begins to hurriedly walk, and almost go into a run, and then he darts around the corner. But then he steps back a little bit and looks towards you and motions for you to come forward.
I follow, yeah. I go forward.
As you do so, Rufus points, and you see footsteps in the dust, and you see multiple footsteps in the dust, and these footsteps are much larger than what the footsteps of the creatures must have been.
Okay. Do the footsteps seem to be running away from us or coming towards us?
Running away from, and there's a set running away from and a set running towards you, but in the confusion of how many footsteps there is, it is hard to tell which came first.
Okay. I'm gonna say we'll investigate this in a moment, but first let's have a look at this at this fountain.
Okay.
Lead the way.
The dog hurriedly runs down the corridor, not leading to the dining hall, the corridor that was to the left, going towards the room you were recently in. You see a doorway across the right hand wall, and then you see a doorway directly in front of you.
Okay. Does the map offer some insight as to what leads to the fountain? Chaos.
Rufus is able to. He notices. Actually, let me see how smart he is and actually notices. All right, he notices and actually motions the map towards you, and he runs his finger along the map, trying to keep silent as possible. And you see that there is two rooms closely together. One that was near the dining hall and down a hallway, obviously the room that you were recently in, and then one room that must have been the fountain room. And he trails his finger along past one room and then down a hurried hallway.
I nod and say, "That's the path then." And I set off on the path that will take us towards that room.
Okay, as you do so, Rufus walks up towards you, or walks away from you, and goes towards the door that is directly outside or down the hallway. And he motions for you to go first, and then smiles.
I chuckle and I turn to him and I say, "I think we're beginning to understand each other." I'm gonna say, "I don't like that," and I give like a deep bow, kind of indicate him to go first.
Okay, he
Charm.
he taps on the door and then knocks twice, and then kicks the door literally inwards and jumps forward with his sword and glances around the room and then motions for you to come in.
Like an equally display of grace, I kind of like jump into the room, like I draw my blade at the same time, kind of like from like a fencing stance almost towards the darkness.
Rufus?
And I kind of pause and kind of like turn back to like look at the dog and kind of encourage to do like a equally awesome entrance into the room.
The dog jumps up in the air, about waist height, kicks its feet together, and then lands on all four paws.
Very good. I chuckle and kind of like lower my blade and kind of like pat the dog.
Okay. As you
My
do
attention
so,
towards the darkness, yeah.
as you do so, Rufus literally drops his blade out of his hand and remains motionless.
Okay, straight away I want to avert my gaze to the floor, and I want to try and roll lore to determine if I know anything that's able to cause someone to literally freeze up and drop their blades.
Okay. You've
Okay.
obviously known Rufus for a little bit of time, so he might have mentioned something. So.
Okay, I'm gonna roll 2d6. I got two twos. I got a 4, but I have the lore skill.
Yep. So you make it. It's a partial success. Not many things would make such a grizzled and traveled man drop his blade in shock. However, he throws the torch through the air, and it falls and then rolls across the ground. You are in a large, cavernous throne room, it looks like. What would be a throne room? It has 6 columns, 3 on each side, close to the walls. And then you see light begin to shine through these 3 large, tall windows that reach almost up to the ceiling. And they are stained glass windows. They are purple stained glass so that not as much light comes in, so it's kind of like a dim darkness.
Yep.
Or a dimly lit darkness, and you see a large creature sitting on the throne with one hand holding its head up.
Does it look humanoid in shape?
It is humanoid in shape, but it is obviously much larger. Its legs are rounder, and its waist is lower on its torso, so that its legs are shorter.
So it's kind of like face palming almost, like that kind of like stance.
Yes, while sitting.
Okay. Again, I want to clear my throat, and I want to step forward, and I turn to the creature and say, I am Captain Vitus of His Majesty's Royal Service. State your name.
You hear a low, and he raises his head and he looks at you dead in the eye. You look into his eyes and you
At this,
see.
I'd also like to point out, I am refraining as much as I can from looking at it in the eyes.
Okay.
Just because, like, my thought process of this is, I saw my companion Rufus freeze up and drop his sword, and being a bard, I've heard tales of Medusas and other sort of similar like creatures. So I'm on my guard. I'd rather not look at it in the face if that's at all possible.
Okay, you kind of look at his chest probably then,
Yeah,
so that you
yeah,
can meet his gaze without looking at his eyes.
yes, yeah. Mhm.
As you do so, you see his arm reach to the side of the throne slowly, and then you hear a clang as he is grasping for something, and he is
Okay.
awaiting movement.
I kind of want to freeze up, and I'm gonna call out once more, and I say, "This is your last chance. State your name."
It bellows a wail. And it grabs this large flail, a stone flail, as if it was
Uh,
crafted out of boulders, chains, and brick.
What's intimidating? Okay, I'm gonna like with my eyes sort of fixated, like tight, like slightly tilted down. I'm gonna like form a small smile on my cheeks, and I'm gonna turn to Rufus and I say, it's always polite to lead with diplomacy, but sometimes violence solves everything." And I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna like reach for my bow and try to like, draw an arrow and fire it off towards this creature.
All right. I will say that is dexterity then. So roll dexterity.
2d6. I got a 4 and a 4, so I got an 8 plus 2. That's 10.
All right. So that means That is a regular success. So
Yep.
you will roll d6 for damage and tell me what that is.
I got a 3.
Okay. 1 second as I just quickly look at something.
Yep.
All right. All right. Uh, he does not even flinch as the arrow goes into his shoulder. He makes a motion backwards, but he continues his walk towards you, his march. And he's starting to grunt. And Rufus picks up his blade and points it at him, and he starts yelling, "Stay back!"
I turn to Rufus and I say, no offense, my dear companion, but if he's not going to listen to me, he's not going to listen to you. And I say, have at him. And I kind of like point towards him in like a encouraging kind of tone.
All right. Rufus is going to be a hero.
Oh, yes, Rufus. Here we go. I believe.
All right, he rolls a 10. He
Nice.
sprints forward, slides between its legs, and strikes his blade across. Well, he's gonna roll off the second time for striking his blade, but he rolls and then slides between the legs of the creature as the creature begins charging. And he rolls a 4, so he does not make it his hit. His hit doesn't land. Instead, as he as he does his slide, it clangs against the ground.
I chuckle and I call out, "Don't worry, Mike." I say, "Don't worry. In the songs and stories, you would have killed it just then." And I kind of like look down a little bit. And I kind of like look my head to the right and see the dog, and I say, "You're not being fed for free." And yeah.
The dog just turns its head at you, and he makes a similar sprint forward.
I feel bad. Please don't die, dog. Please don't die.
He
Take
rolls
Rufus on
snake eyes.
Oh wow, I feel bad.
So now I will roll for the creature, the large, humongous beast creature, and he lands his hit. So he will roll his d6 plus 3 damage.
Oh god, that's a lot. I only have 5 rolls.
He rolls a 1, so he rolls 4. He literally flails it towards the dog, and the dog goes flying off into the darkness. Imagine someone punting a dog, and it goes.
I kind of like a moment of like terror comes over me, like, what have I done? And I realize I've sent this dog to its impending death, and I vow right now to make a song in memory to the dog of how it saved all our lives, and I'll die a moment. And then I click back to the situation at hand, and yeah.
Okay.
Is it coming towards me, or is it kind of fixated towards Rufus?
It is towards Rufus now. So its back is towards you, but it peeks over its shoulder every once in a while as it flails its, flail, and the boulder literally crashes into the ground as Rufus is dodging it.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to take out my lute, and I'll say, just keep doing what you're doing, like, really loudly. And I'm going to start strumming on my lute. I'm going to use my special skill, Bardic Performance, in which, Valorous Melody. I'm start playing a really upbeat tune, trying to kind of boost Rufus' sort of like capabilities in combat. Just try to get like I'm trying to get like a nice beat and like a flow, so you can kind of like dodge to like the beat of the song I'm playing.
Okay.
And I'm kind of like encourage him up a little bit, be like, come on, you got this, don't die on me. Just singing, like louder and louder and louder. Then I'll start singing the first song that I played while Rufus was listening to me last night at the tavern, to the same beat of my faster, more intense tune.
Alright, Rufus is dodging back and forth. He begins to bob and weave more elegantly, and he actually strikes his sword. Like, he dodges once, dodges again,
Yep.
and then lunges forward with his sword, going for a shot into the chest. And he gets +2, so he rolls an 8, which is a partial success. So he will roll probably, I'll say half damage.
Yep.
Which is, what is his damage again? Okay. Yeah, it's just a d6 +1. Oh, and he rolls a 6, so he has 3 damage. He strikes it right in the belly. And
Yep.
the creature clutches towards its gut, and this green ooze begins to fall out.
Ooh,
But
okay.
it holds with one arm.
Just observing this, is this the same color green as what was inside the fountain from earlier?
Yes.
It is. Interesting. Okay. I will make a mental note of this. I'm going to be like, okay, that's interesting. And I'm going to keep playing. Actually, yeah. Okay.
Okay, as you do so, the creature is now going to look towards Rufus and try to use his flail, but he's going to be out of disability because it requires 2 hands because it is so large.
Yep.
So I'll say his strength will be inverted. As I house rule stuff like no tomorrow. 7.
I'm completely okay with this.
Alright, he rolls a 5. He misses and lands near Rufus, but the wind literally goes past Rufus's face. It does not make contact, though, and Rufus bobs, tumbles, and rolls, and then runs towards you.
Rufus runs towards me, or this thing does?
Rufus is running towards you.
Okay. Just before I say this, because it is being recorded, language, yay or nay?
It's okay.
It's okay? Okay, yeah. I want to put down my lute, and I say, my character kind of comes to a realization that I can't always be on the side watching. I need to be in there. I'm going to put down my lute, and I'm going to pull out my small, my elegant carved blade, and I'm going to say, I won't say that because I don't think it's appropriate. I want to run towards it. I'm going to try and jump on its back, and I want to try and bring my sort of my dagger into a piercing in its eye, and I say, I have a glass eye if you need it. I'm trying to stab it in the eye.
Alright, roll dexterity.
+2 to this, so I got a roll. I got a 5 and a 3, so I got a 8 +2. I got a 10.
Okay, you make it, so roll damage now.
D6?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, I roll. I got a 3.
Okay, you do 3 damage, you hit it right in the eye, and it screams out in agony. It is holding now its gut with one hand, and it lifts that hand towards its eye while still clutching the weapon, but shaking. He is trembling now as you are on his back, and he is
I'm gonna try like
whipping and lashing around.
I'm trying to twist the blade like grabbing it like almost like as if you're like trying to ride a bike, like twisting like the throttle on it. That's how it was, yeah.
Twisted in the socket. All right.
Yeah.
I will say you have to roll strength to continue holding on to do such an action.
Yeah, I was fearing this. I got a 3 and a 4, so I got a 7.
Okay.
I don't have any mods for strength.
All right. So you make it. It's a partial success, but you fall off after twisting, and it does probably about 1 damage extra.
Worth. Okay. Yep.
Yep. He is bent over and he starts wailing, a deep pitched wail, and he's like, "Ugh!" And he begins growling, and he's clutching at the ground, and he takes his hand off of his eye, and his belly is leaking these fluids slowly, but he is leaking, and he is starting to get slower. And he reaches for both hands on his weapon. You see that one eye is shut now, and he comes charging at you directly.
Oh, great. Okay.
And you are on the ground, so...
Give me your best. How about you, fellow creature? Okay.
Alright, so are you going to meet his charge?
Okay, also, if I'm able to make an action, I want to try to not necessarily meet it. I want to try and roll out the way the best I can. I want to be as far away as I can from that death contraption he calls a mace or flail, and I want to be as far away from that as I possibly can. So I want to try roll back behind a pillar if I can, something of the swords.
Okay. Obviously, because he has no depth perception now,
Yep.
he is going to get an inverted to his attack roll now. So he is going to roll to strike. But it's inverted, so he probably won't make it. He doesn't make it. As he lands,
oh my god!
He lands the flail into the ground, he lets out a pained, agonizing scream and wail, and then he sort of, you turn your head to look back, and you see Rufus has gotten behind the beast as he is laying down, or kind of to its side. He lifts up his sword and we'll see how he does. And he strikes it on the back of the neck, doing 5 points of damage.
Oh, Rufus putting in work. Go, Rufus.
The head literally peels off of the neck.
Ooh.
And lands on the ground, rolls towards the flail, and the body collapses under its own weight. And Rufus looks at you, wipes blood from his face, and says, "Where the hell'd that dog go?"
I said, well, the last I saw it just left us. no, I don't say that. I say the dog followed in to help you. And I say, it didn't take that bad of a hit. I think it's still alive. And I swallow silently, singing a silent prayer. And I'm trying to find this damn dog.
Okay. Are you going to look over the body, or is the dog taking precedent?
Dog saying, I feel like I was the cause of this dog's impending doom. And I feel like I should, give that my attention first.
Okay. As Rufus picks up the torch that had been lighting the battle shadows, pretty much, he shines it off towards the wall, and you kind of guide because you saw the direction that it was hit, and you walk towards the leftmost wall.
The dog's over there and over there and over there.
You guide towards the leftmost wall, and you see a blood splatter against the wall.
Oh, okay.
But under it, you see a bloodied dog, and he's kind of whining and pawing at the ground.
All right, I'm gonna go over towards it, and I said, I'll kind of stroke it and say, you did really good. and I'll like take out some more of my rations and some of my wine skin, which I like give it to the dog.
The dog is very grateful and he chews slowly, sips, and then as soon as you stop petting him, he kind of growls as a light growl, as if he wants you to continue petting him.
I keep stroking him, and whilst doing so, I want to try and examine the wounds on him. Is he able to continue on this adventure?
As you are feeling around him, he lets out a yelp, and let's roll a fate die.
Come on, dog.
He makes it.
Yes.
He continues. He continues yelping in pain as you feel around him, but as soon as you raise your hand, he growls again for you to continue petting him.
I keep stroking him. Am I able to try and patch up? Am I able to try and heal this dog? Do I have anything I'm able to use an impromptu? Can I use this tapestry cloak I have fashioned as a makeshift kind of bandage for the dog?
Yes, you can.
Yep. Okay.
However, you must roll wisdom because that would be kind of like a first aid check.
Yeah. Okay. I got +1. Roll. I got a 3 and a 5, so I got 8 +1 wisdom. I got a 9.
Okay, you patch him up. He is able to walk, but very slowly.
I look towards him and I wink and I say, "No hard feelings."
He growls a little bit, expecting more food.
Oh, he's a high maintenance dog. My God. Okay. I give him a little bit more food and I say, "You'll eat me out of business soon, you know."
If the dog could speak, he'd say, "You recently told me I had to earn my keep."
I said, "Okay, I wouldn't really call that earning, but yeah, okay." I continue on. I say, I'll move back towards the sort of defeated corpse of the sort of would-be giant, and I'm going to try to examine the body, looking for pouches or anything or which you could store things in. I'm trying to survey it. I also want to spend particular time being careful and avoiding the green blood, and I want to examine where I stabbed it in the eye. Was there any blood coming out from that? If so, was it green or was it normal blood color, like red?
Out of the eye, would be no blood. What blood there was red, dark red colored. It seems that the liquid that was in its belly, upon further examination, was because you cut open its stomach. Or Rufus cut open its stomach, or whoever did the cutting.
In the story, we'll say it's the dog.
Okay.
I want to take out dagger. I want to kind of make an incision on its upper right forearm. I want to see if it bleeds. And if so, what color is it?
As you do so, it bleeds red.
Bleeds red. So, okay. So it's safe to assume that this green liquid came from its stomach.
Yes.
It's like the stomach acid inside of it.
Possibly.
Possibly. Okay, yeah. Interesting.
Okay. As you search over the body, you kind of pat it down carefully, avoiding the green liquid as well as the blood, just out of intuition. And you find no valuable possessions. It seems like he carried nothing on him except the cloth wrapped around his waist. And the cloth that he did wrap around his waist is disgustingly dirty with various excretions. And Rufus, as you peek your head up and just nod your head in a no fashion, Rufus points towards the flail, and you see a small glimmer come from it.
Okay, I want to go examine or check out that then, the flail, the glimmer coming from the flail.
You see a small gem inserted into the stone of the flail.
I want to take out my dagger. I want to try pop it out.
Okay. You don't have to roll for that because that'll be fairly easy. Upon doing so, you hear another tremor, a slight, small tremor, and Rufus, you hear him gasp as he turns around.
I instantly look over to Rufus in the direction he's now facing, and I kind of slide the gem into my pocket and kind of turn to face where he's facing, ready and eager.
Which pocket? The one with the glass eye or an empty pocket?
A separate one.
Okay, because that's very important. As you look towards where Rufus is looking, the body has begun turning to dust, and all that remains is bone and green liquid.
The green liquid's still there.
Yep, it's mixed in with the dust, so it's more of green mud now. So
I want to cut off a little bit of the tapestry that I'm draped over my shoulders. Actually, no. I go to Rupert and cut off some of his tapestry. And I'm going to sort of like toss it into this green mud.
okay, as you do so, a small smoke appears, and the dog walks towards it very cautiously, but inhales the smoke, and it coughs slightly, and then turns to you, and it seems normal. It's very acidic and burns things.
Okay, interesting. So some kind of stomach acid. I'm thinking to myself. Okay. I turn to Rufus and I say, "We're gonna scout out the room." Actually, the body's no longer there, is it? Damn.
No, it is not. It is just
Yeah,
bones now.
I turn to Rufus and I say, "We're gonna examine the room a little bit. Have a bite to eat. Just take a quick little breather." And at this point in time, I want to crouch down, take out a parchment and some ink, and I want to try and like sketch as close as I can while it's still fresh in my mind the crumpled body of this creature lying on the floor.
Okay.
And I also want to sketch. I also want to sketch and include into it the dog standing triumphantly over the body. I'd like to do that.
With no injuries. It has muscles and is hairless.
It's fully ripped, this dog. It is jacked.
Okay.
Rufus and I lying crumpled and defeated before it. No. We're kind of like off to the side in the sketch. This dog's just standing triumphantly over it.
Posing, making a peace sign as the dog is the main character of this ballad. Rufus kind of just you hear a smashing of glass, and then as you're sketching the body, the bones emit this bright light, and the liquid turns into stone, and as well as the bones itself. And then you look forward and you see that Rufus has punctured a hole in the stained glass to let more light into the room.
It's interesting. So the bone has cracked, has it, or not? The bone's turned to stone.
Yep, bones turned to stone. It is still one piece, though.
All the bones turned to stone?
Yes, all the bones and the liquid. As natural light basks across it.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay, yeah. I also want to continue on with our break, and after we kind of finish, I want to continue on, hopefully directing ourselves towards the well, firstly towards the throne, like the actual chair itself. I want to see if there's any more kind of gems and or valuables scattered throughout the throne itself.
Okay.
Then afterwards, heading off towards the original destination, which was the pool of green liquid.
All right. As you step towards the stained glass that with the small hole in it now, you further examine the throne, and it seems to be just a simple, tall wooden chair that you would sit at the end of a table.
Okay. So nothing extravagant. That's fine. Okay. I'll give it a quick once over and then continue on our way.
All right. As you continue on your way, you pass a closet, which is full of various cleaning supplies, but very old cleaning supplies, so probably full of asbestos. As you continue through a winding passage, you come across, there's a continuation of the patras as it bends and turns, so you can no longer see directly down it, but there's also a door to your left.
Okay. Is there a keyhole in the door?
No, there is not.
Okay, I want to kind of move to kind of open the door. But first, I kind of want to nod towards the door for Rufus to open it. Then I'm going to stop and I say, I got this one, and I'll go to open the door.
He seems very grateful. As you do so, as you crack the door open, it flies and literally swings open and slams against the wall. And a great gust of wind blows in, kicking up dust and everything. And you see grass outside the doorway.
Grass. Do I see any light?
Yes, light is peering in.
Okay, I want to take a step.
Natural light.
Okay, I want to take a step and kind of cautiously examine the room. And the grass as well. I want to see if it looks like natural grass.
You see a rock face to your left, and then
Hmm.
you see that the floor ends in front of you, and then a rock face to your right, and that extends along a pathway. As you peek a little bit over, you caution for the dog and Rufus to stay back, and you see that this is a cliff. You are currently about 70 lengths of the height of a man above the the sea, or that is washing in and ravaging against the coast. You have
Okay.
found a cove.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. There isn't anything else in the room. It's just like a door to the outside.
Yes, there's a small pathway, like a little ledge that you probably could shimmy across, and that is towards the right.
Rather not risk it, I want to go back inside and continue onwards
Okay,
down the corridor.
okay.
Actually,
As you,
I turn to Rubens and say, "Is this room marked on your map?"
uh, he goes out of character. He says he's wondering, is it the fountain room or the ledge?
The ledge.
The ledge is marked. It is marked as there being a pathway leading across the edge of the cove, and then a rock archway that you walk under, and then there is a small symbol that stands for kind of like scouting area. So, scouting post.
Hmm.
But you
Okay.
look over the map and you notice that the scouting post, to scale, it is much smaller than even the entrance that you walk through to enter this compound facility.
And just to clarify, the room with fountain is marked on the map.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I say we continue heading off towards that fountain room.
Okay. As you do so, you end up at a dead end with a curtain strewn across the wall.
Okay. Again, once more, I'm going to draw my fingers over the. Is it the same color? That
Yes,
burnt orange?
it is the same burnt orange with the symbol of Shatar on it.
Okay. Again, once more, I'm going to pull back the curtain and see what's there.
As you pull it back, you see just an open doorway. It
Um,
seems as if the stone has already been lowered.
hmm. Is there still dust on the floor around here?
No, there is not. There is no dust past this doorway, which
Hmm.
either means it's well ventilated or it has recently been inhabited or something.
Yeah.
Something's
Okay.
kicked up the dust.
Okay. I point this out to Rufus and I continue onwards, going deeper in.
All right. As you continue, you come to a flight of stairs around the corner, and you head down them, and you come to this elegant statue
Mhm.
on this wall, and you see that there are two little holes where the fountain that you saw must have poured into this. And the green liquid is still visible. It is still as murky and disgustingly wretched, and it is
Inside the statue?
the statue. Yes,
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. How tall is the statue?
the statue is probably the height of the creature that you
Oh.
fought.
Does it resemble the creature in any way?
Yes, it does. It is more muscular though.
Where are the two holes?
The two holes are coming out of what must be its hands, and then peering and kind of trickling through its fingertips into the fountain floor.
So the fountain is in this room. Just to clarify.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. How? Hmm. Once more, I'm going to take off some of Rufus's parchment, sort of like his cloth. I'm going to sort of toss it into the fountain.
As you do so, it burns on contact and smoke clears up into the air.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay.
The dog again walks towards it and huffs it in.
Hmm. I probably shouldn't do this. I'm going to walk up towards it and huff it in myself.
Okay. Roll Constitution.
Actually, sheer curiosity. Oh, that's my Constitution, I believe.
Plus
I got
1.
a 1 and a 6. I got a 7. Plus 1. I got an 8.
Okay, that is a partial success. As you do so, it is intoxicating. You feel slightly stronger, and your perception of reality becomes a little fuzzy. But then it clarifies itself and comes back to normal. But you look down and you see veins in your arms are now green. And you look towards the dog and you see a glow around it.
Can I turn back to the statue? Is it glowing as well?
No, it is not.
Rufus, he isn't glowing?
Nope, Rufus is not glowing. And if you actually examine your feet, you are glowing.
Okay, I turn to Rufus and say, do you see a more, I put emphasis on the word more distinct glow about me?
He says, nothing but personality with you, fancy man.
I chuckle a little bit and kind of look towards the dog and say, what about you?
The dog actually looks bigger now. Slightly bigger. It actually is walking faster, and you examine the bandage, and it seems to be healed now.
Turn towards Rufus and I say, does that dog look larger to you?
Now that you mention it, yes. But I never paid much attention to him to begin with, so.
I chuckle a little bit and say, very well. Okay, it's interesting. How many other are there any other doors leading out of this room?
There is a door past the fountain. You see the window that you must have peered through, and you see the bodies strewn across one end of the fountain, and then a doorway past them. All the bodies seem to be aimed away from the doorway.
Away from the doorway. Okay, well, in this case, I want to move on. I want to move closer. I want to give the bodies a once-over, like check for a pulse, just give them a quick examination.
All right.
Are they glowing as well?
Yes, they are.
They are glowing. Okay.
They seem more muscular and not as malnourished as the previous creatures in the window room.
Okay.
And they have slightly less deformations across their forehead.
Okay.
As you examine them, they are definitely all dead.
Definitely all dead. Can I check their persons for any form of belongings or anything of the sorts like that?
You find several nuggets of silver.
Right.
Probably just a few silver stones, and then you find similarly some roughly crafted slings.
I'll pocket those and I'll snag one of the slings and put one of the slings and toss it towards Rufus as well.
All right. Let me just write sling on your character sheet quick. Slings do d6 damage.
Okay.
Just for reference.
Okay, yeah, awesome. I want to move on towards the door and look towards Rufus and say, the procedure, I think we have a pretty well pattern now.
He chuckles and he walks up to the door and slowly creaks it open. As he does so, you see, you're kind of stepped against the wall, right, away from the line of sight of the door. All right. You see Rufus step forward slowly, and then you see him fly literally out mid-air of the doorway and land across the room in the pile of bodies.
I want to the joint of the door attached to the wall, because it's open and slightly ajar. Am I able to peer through that that crack there?
Yes, you are.
Okay. What can I spot inside the room?
As you do so, you spot this one big creature. It's very muscular. It's similarly built in like the previous the throne room enemy, and just it has these large tusks coming from its bottom jaw.
And it's definitely alive?
It is definitely alive. It is charging towards the doorway.
Okay, are there any pillars in the room?
Um, there are not. However, there are several stone creatures of similar appearance and size, but they are not moving.
They all have two holes in them.
Um, what do you mean two holes?
There's like a statue earlier mentioned that had two holes in its hand.
Oh, no,
Those two.
no, it does not. They are holeless statues. They are very lifelike, much beyond the craftsman of any hand, whereas the statue was obviously crafted.
Okay, I want to like literally bolt onto Fenrir and say distracted, and I want to run towards one of the statues. I want to grab my 20 feet of rope, and I want to tie the rope between as many statues as I can.
Okay, Rufus charges forward towards the doorway, and he starts yelling towards the creature, "Come on, you big fat oaf!" And he clangs the sword against the wall, against the statues, making a vibracious noise. The dog is following Rufus, yipping and yapping, and the creature begins to follow. And you see on its back this large, long sword, two-handed.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. As
yeah.
soon as I finish tying up the rope, I want to call over to Rufus and say, "Bring it over to the rope. Try and trip it."
The
And
creature.
now I'm going to try and bang on the wall, and I'm going to try and take out my little dagger and tap it against the stone statues.
Okay.
Trying to make noise.
Roll leadership quick.
Okay. I got a 6.
Okay. That is a partial success. Rufus is able to. However, he trips over one of the ropes.
Rufus does.
Yes. He starts leading the creature follows, and Rufus accidentally trips over one of the ropes. Dog just leaps over it.
How far behind Rufus is the creature?
Probably a couple paces, but it's gaining fast.
Not enough time for me to kind of dive in and try to yank him out.
You can try. You'd have to tumble roll pretty much.
Okay. I will try for it then. Definitely, I'm gonna try and snag him out from the rope.
All right, strength.
Okay, oh god, +0. I got a 7.
Okay.
A 6 and a 1.
All right, that's a partial success. You're able to push him out of the way. However, you take his place.
I immediately regret this decision.
And the dog is going to try to help.
Yes, dog.
2 6s.
Oh my god, yes, dog.
The dog jumps and mid-air over the rope and starts yapping, and then leads it away from the ropes, towards a different trap, pretty much. Giving you time to get yourself up and move.
Yeah. I want to stand back up again, and I want to take out my short bow and turn to Rufus and say, if we can bring it down on the floor, something of that bulk will find a little bit difficult to get back up again. I say we try to trip it and then just go ham on it. Just go hard.
Okay. Okay.
I forego my usual classy vocabulary and just say trip it, then kill it. Just straight up. Trip it and kill it.
Rufus chuckles at you and he says, "More my style, anyways." And he starts clanging his sword, leaps over one of the ropes, and the creature will see if it falls. It falls. It falls nice. Flat on its face.
Oh, nice. That's what I like to hear.
And it is trying to lift itself up, but it does not seem to have the muscle power to do so. So it will take it a few turns to do so.
Okay, as soon as I see it, so how I pictured it is the rope is tied between the statues.
Yep.
Is it near a statue?
Yes.
I want to run up to a statue and jump and extend my feet out and try and kick the statue onto it.
Okay. So strength.
I believe. I got an 8.
All right.
3
make it. You push the statue, and the creature kind of rolls out of the way, but an arm gets caught under it, and it yelps. It wails quickly, a deep wail. And you see red liquid start to pool around the statue.
Okay. I turn to Rufus and the dog and say, "Oh, go on."
Okay, Rufus is going to run up towards it. The creature is now on its back and able to see, though. So, just giving that as a reminder of what the situation is. Rufus rolls sixes. Hello? Seems we are having technical difficulties. Just give me a moment. And we're back! A little bit of internet problems, but nothing a restart didn't solve.
Spoken like a tree guru. Have you tried turning it off and back on again?
I literally disconnected everything and then replugged it in, then had to restart my computer. So, but whatever works.
Yeah.
I stopped recording, so it wasn't a bad thing.
Okay.
All right, so where were we? Rufus was about to lunge in with his blade on the tripped creature.
Yes.
And he is going to roll just damage because he's able to. He's able to initially strike it. So it's actually no. I'll roll anyways just to see. He makes it, and so he'll roll d6. Gets a 3. Alright. The creature, Rufus literally runs over, holds down its hand, and cuts off its fingers.
Oh, wow. Go.
You said he's going ham, so...
He's going ham. Yeah, he's going hard. Go Rufus. I kind of like shoot out from the back. I'm like, yeah, lay into him. Like, you know, like this foregoing any kind of class. You know, I'm hyped up on adrenaline at this point in time.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah.
Alright. The creature is now going to strike while Rufus is close. Using his arm just as a bludgeon.
Yep.
And that's strength. He rolls... This creature has a little bit more, so... He rolls and barely makes it, so he's going to roll for half damage. With a bludgeoned arm, so... He rolls 2. Rufus is now... is thrown aback and lands on his ass, and... literally lets out a small groan and then gets back up on his feet. And the dog tends to Rufus as he's on the ground and kind of tugs on him to get him back up. So, and it's your turn. Wait, you gotta be kidding me. One moment. I think this is going to be the end of the session. I think it's time to call it quits for the night.
That's okay. I'm fine with that. I was guessing as much.
All right. Would you like to continue this at a different time, though?
Yes, I would like to, but it may be a little bit of a inconvenience and a hassle, just because, not for me, but for you, just because this week I have a test I have to do and an assignment due, and then the next 2 weeks at university are all like my testing and such.
Okay.
So I'm maybe a little bit scarce of time just during the days. So I'm not sure if we are going to be able to. I'll send you like I might be free not tomorrow, but like towards the end of the week.
Well,
which is a long time to leave a campaign to do.
It's okay because we'll have this recorded and I will be posting it on the website.
Okay, awesome.
So if you need to refresh, just listen to the last little bit. So
definitely, I probably will. Definitely, yeah. Thanks for the campaign. It was really enjoyable. I enjoyed it a lot, actually.
All right. So any questions, comments, or suggestions so far?
No, it's all pretty good, actually. I don't do one-on-one campaigns very often. I always find them more enjoyable with groups, but you did a really good job. Like, it's probably the best one-on-one campaign I've played. ever. So good job.
All right, thanks. You were a great player as well.
Always nice to hear. Thank you. If you do any kind of like group sessions in the near future, like I will, I'm more than fine to fit time for that, even if it's like during your time, like your time zone. 'Cause I would really enjoy playing a game with you, DMing with additional players as well.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Would you like to say anything to anyone that's listening, quick?
Anyone that's listening, my roommates, I guess. I can say that. What can I say? Okay, I'll say something to all the animal lovers out there. I plead ignorance for selling an innocent dog to take damage. I'll say that out right now. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you for that.
All right. Well, goodbye, everyone.
Have a good one. See ya.